Hello, I'm Julia Donaldson, and with my husband Malcolm, who's a very good actor and guitar player, we're going to tell you a bit about some of the books that I've written. We're going to start off with this one. It's called Tiddler, and it's about a little fish. So shall we just read the first couple of pages of the book? Once there was a fish, and his name was Tiddler. He wasn't much to look at with his plain grey scales, but Tiddler was a fish with a big imagination. He blew small bubbles, but he told tall tales.
Sorry I'm late. I was riding on a seahorse. Sorry I'm late. I was flying with a ray. Sorry I'm late. I was diving with a dolphin.
Tiddler told a different story every day. So this little fish, he's always late for school. He's always got a story. And I think I probably wrote it because I was one of these children who was often late for school, and I had some pretty good excuses. It's quite fun for children to act this story out, either being the fish, or you could even just, make up your own play where you make up weird and wonderful excuses for being late for school.
Just wanted to say that I think that might be me. Axel says it isn't, but I think it might be.
Yes, there's a picture on the front of the walrus with a moustache.
And also, that's definitely Julia. And Julia said she imagined that the writer friend who the fish told the story to would be sitting in a boat, but Axel said, oh, no, that's not possible. The fish would die out of the water, so you've got to be below the water. So that's Julia.
Yeah, so that's a picture of me at the end. So I'm at the end of Malcolm's.
Well, not that Axel admits it, but I think it is me.
I think that's you, the walrus with the moustache. So that was a book all under the water. Then I just thought I wanted to do something completely different. So my next book is called Stick Man. And when our children were little, like lots of children, they loved playing with sticks. And they'd pick up a stick. Sometimes it was probably a sword or something a bit aggressive, but sometimes they get two sticks and say, this is a violin, or this is an ice cream. And I think that's what gave me the idea of Stick Man. But also,
in The Gruffler's Child, Axel had given The Gruffler's Child a stick toy. And that plus all the experience with our own children's sticks
gave me the idea for Stick Man.
Yes.
So we'll read you just a little bit of the beginning of Stick Man. Stick Man lives in the family tree with his stick lady love and their stick children 3. One day he wakes early and goes for a jog. Stick Man, oh Stick Man, beware of the dog.
A stick?
Barks the dog.
An excellent stick. The right kind of stick for my favourite trick. I'll fetch it and drop it and fetch it, and then I'll drop it and fetch it and drop it again.
I'm not a stick. Why can't you see? I'm Stick Man. I'm Stick Man. I'm Stick Man. That's me. And I want to go home to the family tree. And poor old Stick Man, not just the dog, but all sorts of other characters think he's something that he isn't, like a swan thinks he'd be a very good twig to weave into her nest. A man thinks he'd make a good flagpole for a sandcastle, and he even gets put onto the fire. But it does have a happy ending, doesn't it?
And what's so nice about the book, I think, is that it does the seasons. It starts off in the spring, is that right?
Spring, that's right.
And then with the man by the beach with a mast, using the stick man as a mast, it's summer.
And then it's autumn and all the leaves are falling off the trees.
And then when stick man's going to be burnt on the fire, it's Christmas, it's winter.
Yeah, it's got quite a Christmassy, no, it hasn't got a Christmassy cover. It's got quite a wintry cover, but actually you're right, it does cover all the seasons. So, that was Stick Man. And then in my editor, the person who sort of helps me write the stories and helps improve them if they're not quite perfect in the first place, she said to me, right, Julia, the next book, no more sticks. Can we have someone cuddly in this book? And so that gave me the idea for a cat, because we've always had cats,
yes,
haven't we? And And also, another thing that Malcolm and I used to do together is go busking. You've got your guitar here, I
Yes.
think, haven't you? So we used to go singing in the street. That's called busking. And so I thought I would write a book about a busker and his cat. That's the cat, the busker. The busker's on the back of the book. There he is. So we'll read you the first page of this, and it's actually got a song in it, one of the songs that the busker and the cat
So are we going to sing
together.
this then? Yes.
Well, I thought we'd start reading it and then we'll launch into the song.
Before we do the song, this song is quite special. Julia, she's a very good songwriter, but she had a tune for this which just wasn't special enough. And I kept saying to her, look, you need to do the tune again. And one Sunday lunchtime, I sort of said it again. She said, oh, I'm fed up with you saying that. You write the tune. I said, look, I'll make the coffee and you just go to the piano and just have a go. And after 5 minutes, she came back, she said, I think I've got it. And
okay.
what's this?
Tabby McTat was a busker's cat with a meow that was loud and strong. The two of them sang of this and that, and people threw coins in the old checked hat. And this was their favourite song.
Me, you and the old guitar, how perfectly, perfectly happy we are.
Me, you.
And the old guitar, how perfectly happy we are.
But they don't stay together for very long, because in this story, a terrible thing happens, that a thief comes along and tries and steals the busker's hat with all the money in it. He goes rushing off after the thief, falls over, ends up in hospital, and the poor old cat just doesn't know what's happened to him, so
I think we
they
should
get
sing
separated.
that. Let's sing it.
Sing that bit, okay.
McTaff fell in love with a lady cat, sleek and black on the doorstep she sat. She and he had a cat-to-cat chat, and he sang her his favourite song. All together now.
Me, you and the old guitar, how perfectly, perfectly happy we are. Me, you and the old guitar, how perfectly happy we are.
Meanwhile, a thief stole the old checked hat. The busker gave chase, but he fell down flat. They took him to hospital, far from his cat, and he stayed there for over a week. McTatt said goodbye to the lady cat, but where was his friend with the old checked hat? She's gone off and left me, said Tabby McTatt, and a tear found its way down his cheek.
Leave you on a cliff edge there. So that was Tabby McTat, story about busking and cats. Then I think for my next book, it was again, my editor gave me the idea. She said, Julia, I would love you to write a dragon story. So I sort of thought, well, I've had a dragon in one of my books, because there's a dragon in Room on the Broom, but that's a very bad dragon, a villainous dragon. So I thought this time I would have a good dragon, and I had the idea of him going to school, and I thought it would be really good if the school teacher's name was Madam Dragon. I just like the sound of that, Madam Dragon. And I actually wrote down about 10 different dragon ideas before I came up with the idea which did turn into this book, Zog. Zog is the dragon hero in the story. So we'll just read you the beginning of Zog. Madam Dragon ran a school many moons ago. She taught young dragons all the things that dragons need to know. Zog, the biggest dragon, Malcolm always acts Zog. Zog, the biggest dragon, was the keenest one by far. He tried his hardest every day to win a golden star. All the dragons in year 1 were learning how to fly. Hi, said Madam Dragon, way up in the sky. Now that you've been shown, you can practice on your own, and you'll all be expert flyers by the time you're fully grown. Zog went off to practice, flying fast and free. He soared and swooped and looped the loop, then crashed into a tree. Just then a little girl came by. "Oh, please don't cry," she said. "Perhaps you'd like a nice sticky plaster for your head."
What a good idea,
said Zog. Then up and off he flew, his plaster gleaming pinkly as he zigzagged through the blue. So poor old Zog, he's not very good at anything in dragon school. And I think, there is something he is actually very good at, but I won't tell you what that is. But there are some children who are a bit like that. They feel they're not very good at anything. They may be a little bit clumsy, but, you know, if they keep trying, in the end, there's usually something that they find they can do pretty well.
What I like about Zog as well is that he's big. He's a big dragon. You know, so often the underdog, so to speak, is a small creature, but Zog's a big dragon.
Well, actually, when I wrote the story, I wrote Zog the zigzag dragon. I wanted him to have a zigzag pattern. And then Axel, doing the pictures, said, no, that would be too difficult to draw. So I had to change the word zigzag. And I thought, shall I make him be the smallest dragon or the biggest dragon? And like you said, I just thought the biggest dragon, it makes it a bit different, because it is hard sometimes for very big children when people think they're older than they really are. So that's another school story, Zog. Well, in all of those books that I've just been talking about, there wasn't really a villain. So I thought, I really want a baddie in my next book. So my next book was The Highway Rat, and The Highway Rat is as bad as you can possibly have. He's very greedy as well. So we'll read you the beginning of The Highway Rat.
And sometimes the voice of it took me a long time to get the voice for Zog, but The Highway Rat was obviously from Glasgow in Scotland.
Glasgow in Scotland, that's where we used to live. The Highway Rat was a baddie. The Highway Rat was a beast. He took what he wanted and ate what he took. His life was one long feast. His teeth were sharp and yellow. His manners were rough and rude. And the Highway Rat went riding, 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 riding along the highway and stealing the travellers' food. So he's a very bad character, but you know...
Oh, you must go on, Julia. I've not done my accent yet.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's true, sorry. Okay. And now I can be the rabbit as well. A rabbit came hopping along the road, then stopped with her paws in the air. For blocking her way was the Highway Rat, who cried out,
"Who goes there? Give me your pastries and puddings. Give me your chocolate and cake. For I am the rat of the highway. And whatever I want, I take."
So he's a really pretty bad character. But I do have a little soft spot for him. He gets tricked, of course. He doesn't manage to get his wicked way. But at the end, I let him off the hook a bit, and I didn't make life too terribly bad for him, because I was a bit fond of him in spite of his wicked ways. Well, then I realised that I'd not done any books about creepy crawlies, and Axel, the illustrator of all these books, Axel Scheffler, he's so good at drawing insects, bees and beetles and worms, and there's a lot of insects and creepy crawlies in a lot of the other books, even though I didn't write about them, he just put them in the pictures. So this time I thought I will do a book about some creature you might find in the garden.
And can I say, when Axel sends you letters, he writes Julia lovely letters, and he often decorates the envelope, and frequently there are bugs, aren't there?
There are. He's very, very good at bugs. Yeah. So I thought as well that I'd never done a book about a superhero. So I put the two together, and this book is Superworm. And this time we're not going to read you the story, we are going to sing you a verse or two of the Superworm song. It's got actions, actually, which you could probably do in the classroom. You have to stick your arms out for the first bit, make some muscles, wiggle about, and then thumbs up. Okay. Superworm is super long. Superworm is super strong. Watch him wiggle, see him squirm. Hip hip hooray for Superworm. Help, disaster, baby Toad has hopped onto a major road. Quick, whatever can we do? Look, a Superworm lasso. Superworm is super long. Superworm is super strong. Watch him wiggle, see him squirm. Hip hip hooray for Superworm. Bee is feeling bored today. She needs a nice new game to play. Cheer up, Bee, no need to mope. It's Superworm, the skipping rope. Superworm is super long. Superworm is super strong. Watch him wiggle, see him squirm. Hip hip hooray for Superworm. And Superworm helps out lots of different creatures, but then something terrible happens to him because there's a villain in this book as well, and this villain is called Wizard Lizard. That's right. Well, the last book that we're going to talk about is called The Scarecrow's Wedding, because we're married. We've been married for
43 years this year.
Very long time. So this is a love story. It's the only time I've written a love story. I wasn't specially planning to write a love story. I really wanted to write a story about a female character because I've got a lot of men and boy characters in the books. So I thought it'd be nice to have a girl scarecrow or a lady scarecrow. So the scarecrow, the female scarecrow in this book is called Betty O'Barley. She has a boyfriend called Harry O'Hay because they're made out of hay and barley and things like that. So we'll just read you, I think we'll
Two
just read
extracts,
you.
I think. We'll just read you the bit
Okay.
with the goodie, Harry O'Hay, and then we'll read you the bit with the baddie, Reginald
Malcolm
Ray,
really likes
who I really
playing
like. Yeah,
baddies.
he's a great character.
So this is just the very beginning. Betty O'Barley
And Harry O'Hay.
were scarecrows. They scared lots of crows every day.
Harry loved Betty.
And Betty loved Harry.
So Harry said, Betty, my beauty, let's marry. Let's have a wedding, the best wedding yet. A wedding that no one will ever forget.
So they decide to have their wedding and they realise they're going to need quite a lot of things. They're going to need a dress, some nice flowers, wedding rings and bells. And they manage to find all these things except for the flowers. So Harry goes off to look for the flowers and he gets really delayed, doesn't he? And he's gone such a long time that the farmer makes a new scarecrow. So we'll read you this bit. Betty was worried. What's happened to Harry? Where is the scarecrow I'm planning to marry? The farmer came by with a frown on his face and he made a new scarecrow to take Harry's place.
Good day.
Said the scarecrow.
I'm Reginald Rake.
He took Betty's hand and he gave it a shake.
Together,
He told her.
we make a fine pair. You're really quite pretty, apart from your hair.
Then he jumped in the tractor and told her.
Hop in. I'm a really fast driver. Let's go for a spin.
But Betty said, no, I must wait here for Harry. He is the scarecrow I'm going to marry. We're planning our wedding, the best wedding yet, the wedding that no one will ever forget. So if you want to find out whether Reginald manages to marry Betty or whether Harry's going to get back just in time, you will have to get this book in your school library. Thanks very much.
Thank you.